Hi everyone, yeah, on to the agribusiness chat with Jinmi Ajayi once again. And today we'll be having a conversation around the snail value chain. And we have a foremost snail expert in the country with us to share details about the entire value chain, his past experiences, what he's learned over time, and how you can benefit wherever you are from the snail business value chain. Good morning, sir. Please introduce yourself.
Good morning, sir. I'm so happy to be on board. Thank you so much for the opportunity. My name is Ezekiel Olajumoke. I'm the founder of NG SNAILS. This is like let me say, I'm more of like a researcher, all right? So I
Okay.
have a background in molecular biology and I grew passion for agriculture. So in my bid of trying to solve problems, in terms of improving agricultural yield. That actually took me into agriculture, and I picked snails in particular because snails are quite technical and it requires some handful of effort and work. And that is why I've actually grew this my research work for the past 9 years now. For the past 9 years, I've been researching on snails, and I started doing snail business something around I think 5 years ago. So like business, when I say business now, it's bringing in money, all right? It's bringing in money. So because fashion won't pay the bills, okay? You need money.
Exactly.
You need money to pay the bills. So okay,
Exactly.
I've I've won a handful of awards. I've participated in a handful of programs. I did enterprise management from Enterprise Development Center at Lagos Business School. I learned about agribusiness management at Fit Foundation. That's what we call Skill Up Lab, Agribusiness Skill Up Lab at Fit
Okay.
Foundation. A handful then we moved into Federal Ministry of Agriculture where I bagged my certificate in HACCP. All right, then post-harvest loss management and all of that. It's been an interesting journey. Okay, I'm trying to balance the culture of agri to the business part of it, to the application in a real life situation. You see, you can go to business school and learn how to run a business. But by the time you bring that your knowledge from class, by the time you bring it back to the field, they are too wide apart. So it's actually a big responsibility on us to find a balance between what the business structure is saying and what the real life situation is saying. Then in terms of research work too, there is a way research work looks so beautiful when it's still very small. And by the
True.
time,
True.
so it looks so beautiful when it's still very small and in the lab. And by the time you decide to scale it up to the field, they are distant apart. So
Mm.
it's quite interesting trying to bridge this gap between research work and field work, and at the same time bridging the gap between the business world and the field work. So
All
it's
right.
an interesting journey so far.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much for that. So what are the considerations that one should have before going into snail farming? By that, I mean, what breeds, what types of housing and all. I
Okay.
mean, the key considerations.
Okay. So the first key consideration for me is your market drive. The
Mm.
market will pay your money. The market will pay your
Mm.
money. So try and understand what does your market want? What do they desire? Okay. So if your market actually wants that, okay, you should give us meat, snail meat. We want the big size. So that means that you are looking at producing snail meat in a specific size order. All right. If the market is just like, just give us anything, we just want to eat snails. Look, okay, fine. That means that we are just doing snails to a certain, maybe the size doesn't matter. matter to you. I just want to breed for me. If your market is like, see, okay, I think I just want the slime. Just give me slime. Or probably your market is like, oh, we are not interested in your meat. We need something like slime so that we are cosmetic industry and all of that.
Exactly.
That's actually your focus. If your market
Yeah.
is like it's medicinal, like okay, so you understand that snails have some healing power. So can you just help us focus on that healing power? You focus on that and you leave the meat alone. If the market is telling you that, okay, so you know what, you just want to enjoy any delicacy, when it comes to snails and all of that, you focus more on that and just leave the rest alone. So your market should be the first thing you should consider before you start your snail farm. So after you've understood what your market wants or what your market needs of you, then you can now come back and look at your available space. Okay. After your available space, look at your capital. Then most importantly, your technical know-how. You need knowledge. Like you need knowledge. You should invest a handful in knowledge. So this is what I say. So even though you are the big guy, you are the big investor, and you are not interested in operations, still have a handful of knowledge in operations so that by the time they begin to bring back reports to your desk and they begin to do some discrepancy in the old breakdown, you can equally tell them that, oh, this is not meant to be like this. It's not meant to be like so. Once you understand that you as the CEO, you as the founder, you have a good knowledge about how your operation works. Of course, it will be easier for you to mitigate, fund mismanagement and for you to broader widen your profit margins. Okay, so you go ahead and check your available space, go ahead and check your available capital, go ahead and invest in knowledge. All right, before you consider snail farming, I've already said the first thing. The first thing is understand your market. Your market is important. It's important because they are the one that will pay you. So until the whole value chain doesn't stop in production, the whole value chain is like is a circle. It's a circle and it's a cycle too. So you produce, you sell, you get money. You get money in exchange for your product. So that's when you can ask, okay, I'm doing business. So even the long run you are doing, you started your snail farm and all you do, you're just producing, and you're not selling to make money, then you're not in business. You're just doing some fun and all of that. So those are the key things that you need to consider before you start your snail farm.
Okay, so thank you very much for that. So you highlighted marketing and touched on maybe if there's a potential big investor somewhere, right? What about like young Nigerians who probably have just six figures, some money to experiment with? You understand? Maybe NYC core members or young Nigerians, young school leaver, young graduates, and even some in the university. How can they explore opportunities in the snail business? Do they need to go into production or maybe just find a position along the value chain, maybe marketing, distribution, input supply, and all those sort of things? What do you think?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your question. You see, this has been my advocacy since time immemorial. Like, youth needs to get on board. Youth needs to get on board. So everybody keeps saying funding, funding, funding. See, production is the toughest part of the value chain because it requires your time and commitment. You can't be producing and be an offline farmer or be a part-time farmer. No. So, but you can be actively involved in marketing and distribution and make good money. So as a student, core members, fresh graduates, what have you, as a youth and you are looking for the best means for you to approach this snail farming business, you should actually start from the marketing. Start from the marketing, sit down, highlight some people, the market you want to address, people that will need your product. So you begin to list them out: restaurants, hotels, lounges, supermarkets, even corporate organizations. So then you cannot begin to, okay, so that's who are your markets? So kind of where are they? You've answered the who questions. So where are they? Where can you find them? You can, a simple Google search can help you. Hotels around me, restaurants around me, supermarkets around me. It's simple. Don't travel to the island. People believe that, oh, I must go to the island before I can get my customer. I must go. Don't see. By the time you factor in your logistics from your
Yeah.
location, say you're
Yeah.
in Lake, you factor in logistics from Ikorodu to the island. So even though you are selling at a profit margin of 2% and logistics have knocked off 1.5% of your profit margin, that means you are not doing business. You are just doing activity. So on the long run, you become frustrated. You be like, oh, see, it's not profitable. I don't think I can go on with this. Okay. So sorry, that's actually a digression. So let me
No
get back
problem
to
at all.
so you've already answered who your market is. So you need to understand where can they be found. So say you are dealing with corporate organizations, say I want to focus on bank. Like you can't serve all banks. Just pick one as the starting point. Say I want to do like I'll not bank is not paying for promo, so I will use my own bank. I want to do Ezekiel banks now. So you move in for Ezekiel banks and you talk to the staffs. Okay, so you do snails. Don't you do snails? How do they like it? Do they like it paired with other snacks, or they just like it peppered, or just like it garnished? Do they like it like ready to go? So you must understand how your market wants it to. You are not producing for yourself. You are not. Don't go to the market with perceptions that, oh, I feel they will like it like that. Go to the market with assurance, and you can only get that assurance after you've engaged with the market. Like, okay, so how do you want it? Then people will tell you that, no, I don't like people cooking for me. Just clean the snails for me. I'll go and cook it myself. You understand? Okay, this person likes it freshly cleaned. Okay, see, I'm a bachelor. I don't have time to start cooking. Just help me do it in a nice sauce, and we are good. Okay, let me assume that this person loves, say, with peppers and peppers. Okay. See me, I think I like a bit of combo. Okay, okay, okay. Let me just do snails and plantain with this person, or snails and fries, potato fry, and all of that, yam fry and all of that. So you already start understand who your customer is, that's who your target market is, where they can be found. They already understood how they want the product. All right, so they can determine when do they want the product. So probably you move to a supermarket now and you've already discussed with them. So you're asking them when. Okay, when do you want the product? How often do you want the product? They say, okay, so let me have it every week, let me have it every month, every 2 weeks, and all of that. So all these questions will help your decision if you want to now buy from wherever you want to get your stocks from. Say probably a nearby market around you, or maybe you really just want to take your time and study where the bulk of the snails come from, or you want to engage some hunters to help you pick snails from the bush, or you want to go to you want to go to any reputable farm around you. See, all these things you can start with low cash. So as the cash flow, and yes, finally, let me also add to it, you must be paid in food. You must be paid in food. Now, it is easier for you your market can either be business to business, we call it B2B, or business to customers, we call it B2C. Now, if the percentage of your market pool is B2C, your cash flow will be consistent. So you can use that to quickly turn over your cash flow. But if the bulk of your market is B2B, then that means that you will need some reserve cash to run the business. How do I mean? So if you are supplying my supermarket and I'm telling you that, okay, so my supermarket, I am only giving you an LPU of say 4 weeks, that means that your money is available till the next 4 weeks, but we need you to always supplying us. That means that we need an extra cash somewhere that can equally mop up for that 4 weeks time frame. But on the long run, you can speak to corporate organizations, you can speak to individuals, churches, mosques, event management organization, where you can equally bring in this your snails. They can buy, cash and sell. You buy, they give you your money, you get your money. So meaning that if you're able to sell, say you're able to start small, like sell like 50,000 naira in a week with a profit margin of, let's say, 10%, say you're able to make like 5,000 naira profit margin. Of course, by the time you turn that over the space of like 4 weeks, you've made 20,000 naira profit. Remember, I said profit now, not revenue. Your revenue is different from your profits. You need to understand your costing. I think I'm going too deep. Sorry. You need to understand your costing. So, but
I
really,
understand. You study molecular biology, so no problem. Have the floor, please.
so I'm still trying to put a balance between the business aspect of it, you know. And some people will say, okay, I have 200,000 naira, can I start snail farming? No, see, snail farming is not for you. Snail farming is not for you. You should equally be involved in the value chain of snail farming business. You cannot start to breed snails with 200,000 naira. So even set up a snail farm on the plot of land is some 6 to 8 million naira. So you don't have such cash and you want to delve into snail farming, even though you want to start small with, let's say, with probably a little space, let's say a wooden box. But you as a fresh graduate, you need money. You need money. All right, you need money. So because you need money, because cash is king, you need to invest the cash in a good model that will make the cash flow a spontaneous one for you. So the best way to turn it over is to get yourself involved in either trading, distribution, or storage. All right.
All right.
So
Thank you very much for that. So I like the fact that you mentioned some people considering wooden boxes as house for their snails. So tell us, which is the most sustainable? Because I've seen people house the snails in tires. I've seen some house them in wooden pens. You remember those wooden pens for rabbits those days with net underneath, right? People have stored their snails in housing in such forms of houses, right? And then another common one is the one that sort of like looks like free range. You understand, like the one that they have at some guy farms. And I've also seen some of those pictures on your farm, on your social media. So tell us, which is the most sustainable in terms of a proper snail business? And which other options can people also consider if they are just starting up? So for example, maybe someone has like 2.5 million naira, 3 million naira, and they already own a land, perhaps a backspace in their house. How can they commence or start up?
okay, thank you very much for the question. So I've always had a lot of people, you know, they will fight. Let me call it like a will fight. When you're trying to tell them which of the housing system is sustainable, you know, you begin to have it like, okay, but you told us to start small. So I will actually start from that. See, it's good that you start small. Start small, grow, then scale. Okay. Now, when you are starting small and you understand the nitty-gritty, you understand how it works on a small scale, it's easier for you to grow and to scale. If you've not started at all and you want to start big, then obviously it's either you get an expert on board or probably you've interned for a handful of time before you set to actually start big. Now, in terms of sustainability, we have different housing systems. We have the intensive system, we have the extensive system, and we have the semi-intensive system. Now, in the intensive system, the farmer is totally responsible for the care of the snails. You feed them, you take care of their housing system, you take care of the watering system and all of that. In the extensive system, you know, there are some parts that the farmer does not really need to be on top of this operational procedures day in day out, like in terms of feeding, in terms of wetting them, in terms of management. Now, because intensive system, the snails are confined to a little space or little environment. Example is your wooden box. Example is your tire system. Example is your drum. Example is your trench pen. Trench pen are those type of pen where you use bricks to actually mold, like you build them in compartment. All right, you build them in compartment. Now, by the time you start with first your tire, your tire is, I don't recommend tire, all right, but it's a good way for you to start. At least start with something and see. But once you start, always make sure that there's always room for you to grow. So make sure you are growing. Don't say, okay, after I retire, and because I've done tire and it's not working, see, I'm not doing this, and I'm not even interested. I'm hungry right now. No, you just have to take it a step further. So with tire, then you can use your wooden pen. You see, in snails, snails love cool area. And because they love cool area, we are breeding snails, we try to create an environment that mimics their natural habitat. How do we do that? We always ensure that we apply water on their pen. So anywhere you keep the snails, you must always apply water so that it will make them cool and they can come out and eat. If you use the tire system and you apply water, it's no problem. But the tire system, because the color is black, black absorbs heat. Once it becomes sunny, the black will absorb heat and the heat will be transferred to the snails. It will get to a state, the tolerance level of the snails will be reached and the snails will die. So that's why you may
They always
experience.
die in tires, in tire system anyways. Yeah,
That's
they
actually
always
what
die.
that's what caused the mortality. Life is, I don't know now. Nobody like how hard life. So you now kept them in a place and keep dealing with them. You know, snails are not aggressive. So because they cannot complain to you, they will just carry pillow inside their shell and they will sleep. They will die. So that's it. So then the wooden pen now, the wooden pen, because you keep adding water to the wooden pen, the water will make the wood to rot. Wood is made up of cellulose. So because of the watering system, we begin to have more saprophytic, saprophytic microorganisms build up on the soil. Sorry about that. Just like having like some stuff of mold trying to eat up the wood and it begins to get soggy and rot. So in like 8, 12, 15 months, the wood may become cracky. So it may start to give way. So that's why I said that you have to start small, then quickly grow. Then we begin to have the trench pen too. So the trench pen, that's the big pen. So you begin to, take care of the snails. The snails are kept in confinement. Now, the major advantage of all this intensive system is that it's easier for you to track your record. Record keeping, inventory management is very, very easy in the intensive system. You already understood that, okay, so this my pen, I have, say, 100 snails. So if I want to count them, I can still count 100 snails. It's easier for me to count. Now, if someone comes to my farm to steal 5 snails, thinking I won't know, by the time I recount my snails, or I took my stock and I discovered that this is 95. Something would have equally told me that, oh, someone is here trying to steal off my snails. So it's either I pay close attention to my security and try to just catch whoever is stealing my snails compared to the extensive system. All right. Now, one thing about building is that there's always uh, how do I call this now? There's always a depreciation, yes, asset depreciation cost. There's no way you will build something and it won't depreciate, especially if you keep using that thing. Even in our own house, as we keep putting on the tap on and off, small time, the tap gets worn out and we need to refix it. All right. So in the intensive pen, because it is intensive and you have to keep using these things over and over and over again, you should take note that you must still reserve some amount to always repair your pens. So say the covers now for trench pens, you must have covers on your pens. As you are opening and closing the covers, the wooden covers got worn out and you need to fix it. If you don't fix it, either you are giving room for someone to come and steal your snails or you are giving room for your snails to crawl out. Now for the extensive pen, extensive pen is just like the system where you just place the snails in a large space and allow them to roam around freely, just like it's in the wild.
Or with mesh, right?
Exactly. But you have to cover them with net, or you have to create a medium for them so that can't uh, they can't escape. Snails love to explore. They can explore anywhere. If you keep snails anywhere, the reason why, okay, let me just throw this joke. There are times when we pick snails probably from the wild or maybe from our compound, and we just keep them in the kitchen. You kept them in the kitchen at night. Probably you were too tired to kill them. And the next morning you were expecting, they said snails are slow now. You are expecting the snails to be maybe somewhere very close to your cupboard. So like I just pick the snail. But to your amazement, the snails would have wandered off. So snails, that's just their nature. They love to explore anywhere you keep them. So you have to be sure that for your extensive pen, as you are keeping the snails and you're allowing them to roam around with that, there is a system that confines their movement within a certain perimeter, or else your snails will wander off. So that's just it. So you also need to understand that you must also create another system that will prevent predators from coming from the outside to come in and prey on your snail stocks. So it's a two-way thing. The snails should be kept very well in your extensive pens so that they don't crawl away, and at the same time they should be prevented from predators.
Predators. Yes. So now, what are the most common predators affecting snails?
Okay, so it depends for the intensive pens now. For the intensive pens, the most common predators are lizard,
Oh,
then we
okay.
have rats, then we have ants. But what I do tell people is that not all ants are harmful to your snails. And people get panicked. Oh, I've seen ants. Oh, what should I do? What should I do? And I'm just like, relax. See, snails are closest to nature. Truthfully, like truthfully, practically speaking, you can't completely eradicate insects from your pen because it's an ecosystem. It's just like I myself as an individual, and I decide to stay in an estate. The fact that I decide to stay in an estate does not mean that I won't have other people to interact myself with. I'll see have other people coming. Hey, hello, my neighbor, good morning. Probably when I'm driving out, I'm able to meet people, see these other guys probably trying to sell me sandals or stuff like that. But that doesn't mean that they are threats to me. All right. So there are some ants, or there are some insects that they are threats to your snails. There are some insects that they are no threats to your snails. Now, insects serve as threats to the snails. Your fire ants, your soldier ants, your army ants. All right. So there are some, like I said. So for the extensive pen, we have the snakes, we have the rodents, we have the what's it called again? We have um, snakes and rodents, yeah, lizard. But not all. It depends. It depends. I've seen lizards. I've seen lizards not being harmful to snails, and I've also seen lizards being harmful to snails. So it depends on the environment. So there are times that there's a mutualistic, there's a symbiotic relationship on your farm, whereby the lizard come in and they
The
feed
ants.
on ants. Yes,
Yeah.
and they feed on ants. But this is where I get angry. There are times that so those lizards become big boys. And instead of them feeding on the ants, they begin to scatter the eggs. They will scatter the eggs, the snail eggs that were buried inside the soil. So that's where we begin to get angry. So, it's just a thin line of observation, trying to see which of these things actually poses as threats to your snails. Poses as threats to your snails. But basically, humans too, they are threats to snails because humans love to eat snails. Snails are good delicacy here in Africa, especially West Africa, especially here in Nigeria. So if you leave your snails unattended to, you don't keep them very well. Oh, don't worry. Next day you just be hearing shh. That's just like that's oil sound, the frying sound coming from your neighbor's backyard. They are frying your snails, and that's just all. That's all. And by the time you're just like, I kept some snails here. What's happening now? I think they've wandered off. Well, your neighbor have done justice to it, so you have to enjoy that. You have to enjoy that. You keep your snails very well so that humans don't feast on your snails. That's just it.
All right, all right. Thank you very much. I mean, just imagine a farmer who is a distant farmer, right? I mean, farming snails and chicken. So that means that the workers, the neighbors have access to snails, chicken, and eggs. I mean,
Oh
those
man,
guys will look so fresh, right?
that's nice. Very fresh and chubby. Very fresh and chubby. Very fresh and chubby.
All right. So you mentioned Ikorodu while explaining marketing earlier, because when you consider Lagos State, for example, Lagos State is close to the Atlantic Ocean. So that means that the soil of, of perhaps a lot, most part of Lagos is alkaline based. So does that mean that people around these areas cannot do snail farming extensively?
Okay. Thank you very much for that question. Thank you very much for that question. Now, this is what I keep telling people. If you go to a doctor, I tell you, doctor, please help me. I am not feeling too well. I think I'm feeling feverish and I have a bit of headache. Now, doctor can look at you and just tell you that, oh, go and take XYZ drugs. Oh yeah, you're fine. You can go and meet nurse ABC to give you drugs, 1, 2, 3, or injection, then you're fine. But no, the doctor will tell you to go to the lab for you to get diagnosed of that disease. Now, this is the first mistake most farmers make, be it crop or livestock. There are some tests you need to carry out before you commence your production. For snails now, if you have a plot of land, or let me say if you have a considerable space of land, the first thing you need to do, if you are using that particular soil for your snails, you are meant to take that soil to the lab and run an analysis on the soil. It is the result of the analysis that will tell you if the soil is good for you or if the soil is bad for you. Okay, so part of the analysis is the pH of the soil. The pH of the soil helps us understand if the soil is acidic or if the soil is alkaline. Now, if the result is telling you that this soil is slightly acidic, then that means that the word slightly means, oh, we can still do 1 or 2 things to actually make this soil a neutral soil and make it super good for snails to thrive. If the result is telling that this soil is slightly alkaline, then it means we can still add 1 or 2 things together to make this soil a good one for us to farm our snails. But if you don't carry out this, that means that you've actually done the first mistake. You started blindly, like you started with faith. Like, I don't worry, oh, I've sanctified the land in Jesus' name. I prayed. Oh, you're like, oh, Bismillah, we start in the name of the Lord. All, all these things, not the Lord will be looking at you, that my son. Why? That's why I give you wisdom now, so that you're able to decipher between what is good and what is bad. So, be it anywhere you have your farmland. Oh, in fact, let me even tell you that the fact that your soil is black does not mean that that soil is good for snails. It is only the analytical results that can confirm that, okay, this soil is super good for your snails. There are some soil that the ash content is poor, there are some soil that the potassium content is low, there are some soil that the organic matter composition is poor. You see, all these things, when the result brings it back to you, okay, now let me quickly add 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of these ingredients to it to make it very good for my snails. Now, when the results come in very bad, this is the advantage of doing an analysis on your samples. When the result comes in very bad, the result I've already told you that please don't start, don't even do snails at all. So you can equally use the land for another thing, probably crops, probably fish, pig, cattle, or any other thing, or probably to be the warehouse. But at least you saved yourself a whole sum of money trying to gamble into snail farming, blindly. All right. So the first thing is to do an analysis. Is the result of the analysis that will equally tell you that this soil is actually good. But basically, soil that are red in color, they contains high amount of clay. So they have the tendency of being alkaline in nature. So that means that you need to do an overhaul work on the soil. So if you have to do an overall work on the soil, it means that you are not in a hurry to stock your snails. So I want to, I want to quickly stock this year. No, it means that you have to give it time. You work on it over and over and over and again. And with time, this soil will get better. But it is only that analytical result. Like I said, don't start your don't start your snail farm. Don't start your farm with fasting and prayer. We're afraid to eat. I've told God to sanctify the soil. I have my anointing oil here, and I've already played. I have my mantle. Or you are telling me that, in the name of the Lord, we start Bismillah. See, Bismillah, we do his work, analytical work. We do his work to take that soil, take it to the lab, please. I'm going to analyze it. It's the result you need to judge. If you have to work on it.
All right.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for that. So let's talk waste management or handling in snail farming. I mean, let's consider the extensive farming, for instance. There was a post I saw on your page where you talked about taking out the soil and replacing it with fresh soil, right? So the soil you take out, does that mean that the soil is useful for planting of crops or whatever? That's question one. Then the last question actually for this discourse is that I saw another post where you used snail shells as manure for your corn. So just shed more light on these two to wrap it up.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Okay, so um, let me pick it from this point. Our what's the most issue we have as farmers is that we generate a lot of waste on the farm from our produce, and we haven't discovered ways to turn this waste to wealth. We haven't discovered ways to recycle this waste. Now, your snails, when you keep them on the soil, they tend to defecate on the soil, and the result effect of these fishes, this fecal deposit on the soil, is that it keeps improving the soil organic content and makes it more fertile, like a pure manure. All right. So now in your intensive system where you have to move out your soil, as soon as you move out the soil, you should find a way to always recycle the soil. So what you will do is that you have two batches of soil. The first batch of the soil is what you've already stocked in your pen. Now you have the second batch of the soil is just outside. Now it's time to change. You take the old soil in your pen and put them inside bags, cement bags. You put them inside bags, then the new soil you have outside, you treat them or you sterilize them, then you bring them inside the soil. Now, this soil that is placed inside bags, you can plant other crops in there. You can use it as your nursery. You can use it as nursery for pawpaw, for some tree crops. You can use it to plant your vegetables. You can use it to plant some super crops like yam, like you can use it to grow cucumber in bags, pepper in bags, tomatoes in bags. You can use it to grow potatoes. So it depends on you. All right. So this is now recycling or reusing that plant, that soil. Now, as soon as the harvest time is reached or is elapsed, you can equally harvest your plant, then re-sterilize that soil again and put it back into your snail pen. Then you bring out the old pens or the old soil rather. You bring out the old soil again and you continue to cycle like that. So that way it's a win-win for you. Of course, you are equally recycling the soil into what's it called? The old soil into a manure to grow your crops and all of that. Now, secondly, by the time you process a snail, we have two types of waste. You have the biomass, that's the shell waste, and you also have the fresh mass, that's the intestine waste you pluck out of it. You see, this intestine waste is rich in crude proteins. So when you dry the intestine waste and you crush into powder, you can use it to feed your poultry, or you can use it to feed your pig, or you can use it to feed your fish, but that is a discussion for another. Now, for the biomass, which is the shell, the snail shell is made up of 98% calcium carbonate. Calcium carbonate is like a compound of calcium. See, that is an amazing gift of nature. It means that we have access to a huge lump of calcium. Calcium is good because it helps in bone development, egg formation, and is equally good for everybody, including humans too. Humans too takes calcium. So your ability to recycle this, you can crush that snail shell and have it as a calcium source that you can equally put into your soil. But for us, there was a research work that we carried on that helped us to transform the snail shell, the empty snail shell, into organic fertilizers. All right. So presently now we are using it to help our neighboring local farmers. All right. Before we commercialize it, it's just our own way of giving back to the society. So we are giving now that the cost of fertilizer has soared high. So we are looking at ways to help these smallholder farmers. So far we can equally make this ourselves, give it to them, go and try it out. But the result has been amazing. And it's quite amazing that there are natural ways to grow your crops. There are natural ways to do agriculture, and it's not necessarily being exposed to too much of chemicals. We need to reduce the intake of chemicals. We use chemicals in almost everything we do. See, food is meant to be our medicine, but because our foods become unhealthy, they'll begin to take medicine as food. Because food that you ought to take, okay, oh, you're having a headache, probably just take some lemongrass, lemongrass leaves, cut it, put it, cook, then you sip it as a tea. But because most of the crops we take, they are chemical laden. That's why we have all this. So from your snail shell, you can equally produce fertilizer, organic fertilizer. From that same snail shell, you can still produce biopesticides, organic pesticides to actually cure some invasions from your site on the farm. So that's those are the wonders. So outside of okay, you crushing these new shells and use it as calcium alternatives to livestock feeds. You can use it as fertilizers.
All right, thank you very much. I mean, it's been an eye-opening conversation, even for me that I'm a farmer. I've learned a lot, and I've taken, several pointers in my diary actually. So thank you very much, because it's been a blend of science, which is actually the bedrock of agriculture, science and agribusiness. So it's been a mashup of both, and I'm sure the viewers are going to benefit immensely from this. And lastly, on a lighter note, so we're going to be sending an invoice to Ezekiel Bank. That is your bank that you stylishly advertised, right? So, but then there's no problem with that, because we know you're capable of sorting that out. Thank you very much, sir, and thank you for obliging us.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah, have a great day. Bye.
All right. Thank you.